Before your card leaves your hand at the next terminal, press the plastic around the slot and give the reader a gentle wiggle. What you are checking for is an overlay skimmer. In its many forms, card skimming is estimated to cost consumers and banks more than $1 billion a year, and the overlay is the version you meet most. It is a thin, false shell molded over the real reader. Your card enters the fake slot first, where a hidden head copies your stripe, then passes into the genuine reader beneath, so payment goes through and nothing feels wrong. Mild, your bank cancels the card before money moves. Moderate, strange charges appear that you spend weeks disputing. Severe, the account drains days after you have forgotten the machine. Most people blame the clerk or the bank. The real cause is a piece of plastic the merchant never knew was there. From one copy, your card can be cloned and spent in 3 cities in an afternoon, which is why the charges match nowhere you have been. It stays invisible because it matches the machine, and you never inspect a device you touch without thinking. The fix takes 2 seconds. A skimmer is clipped or glued on, so it shifts when the real reader would not. The irony is that the check is free and instant, and almost nobody does it. Look at the mouth of the next cash machine you use, and notice whether the slot seems deeper, darker, or more crowded than usual. What can hide there is a deep insert skimmer. Reported cases have climbed at bank machines in recent years, with thousands of devices pulled from the network annually. A deep insert skimmer is a thin sleeve pushed far inside the card slot, past the point you can see, where it reads your stripe as the card slides in and out. Nothing sits outside, so the machine looks completely normal. Mild, you lose the card to a precautionary cancel. Moderate, small test charges appear before the larger ones. Severe, the checking account tied to your daily spending is emptied over a weekend when no one answers the phone. People blame the neighborhood or the hour. The cause is a device the size of a stick of gum that never touched the outside of the machine. Because it captures every card that passes, one unit can harvest hundreds of accounts before anyone reports a pattern. It stays invisible because there is nothing to see. The tell is behavioral, not visual. Machines inside bank branches and in bright, busy places are worked on less often, so choosing one is your best defense. The irony is that the safest machine is usually the one that feels the most boring. Before you pay at the pump, glance at the cabinet door on the face of the dispenser and check whether the seal over it is broken, missing, or shows the word void. What you are guarding against is an internal fuel pump skimmer. Fuel dispensers are among the most frequently targeted machines in the country, with compromised pumps found in nearly every state each year. This skimmer lives inside the pump, wired to the reader within the cabinet, invisible from where you stand. It copies your card as the sale runs and often stores or sends the data for days. Mild, your card company blocks a charge from a state you have never visited. Moderate, you chase down a week of fraudulent fuel and grocery purchases. Severe, the account funding your rent is empty when the payment is due. Drivers blame the brand of the station. The real variable is which single pump was opened, usually the one farthest from the cashier. Because the device is sealed inside, it can run for weeks, feeding a steady stream of cards long after the person who placed it has gone. It stays invisible because you cannot open the pump, and neither, most days, does the clerk. The fix is to pay inside, use a pump near the window, or tap instead of insert. The irony is that the pump closest to the door is the safest, and it is the one everyone skips. If your chip card ever feels tight going into a reader, or sticks slightly on the way in, stop and pull it back out. That resistance can be a shimmer. As chip cards replace the stripe, shimming grew to take the place of older skimming, and it remains harder to detect. A shimmer is a paper-thin device slipped into the chip slot itself, sitting between your chip and the reader's contacts, quietly recording what they exchange. It is invisible from outside because it lives entirely within the slot. Mild, the reader jams and someone services the machine before harm is done. Moderate, the captured data is used for purchases where the physical card is not required. Severe, it feeds a wider cloning operation that reaches you months later. People blame a faulty card or a worn machine when the stickiness is the actual warning. because that data can still be abused where the card is never seen. One shimmer keeps paying out long after you have replaced the card you thought was safe. It stays invisible because the chip was sold to you as the secure option, so you stopped worrying. The fix is to tap instead of insert wherever you can, since contactless payments never pass through the slot. The irony is that the most modern card carries a weakness few people were ever told about. Before you type your PIN anywhere, look up and around the screen for a pinhole, a mismatched piece of trim, or a small dark dot that does not belong. That dot can be a hidden camera. Concealed cameras accompany a large share of PIN-based skimming setups because a stolen number is worth far more with the code attached. The camera is a tiny lens angled at the keypad, tucked into a fake brochure holder, a strip above the screen or the edge of the machine. It films your fingers while the skimmer copies your card. Mild, the footage is never retrieved before the device is found. Moderate, your number and PIN are used together for cash withdrawals. Severe, money leaves as physical cash, which is far harder to recover than a disputed swipe. People assume someone watched over their shoulder. The lens was 6 inches away the whole time. Paired with a skimmer, the camera turns a copied card into a usable one, which is what makes withdrawals possible at all. It stays invisible because you look at the keypad, not above it, and the lens is smaller than a grain of rice. The fix costs nothing. Cover the keypad with your free hand as you type. The irony is that this one gesture defeats the most expensive part of the setup, and most people feel too self-conscious to do it. Press a few keys on the next keypad you use and feel whether they sit high, feel spongy, or respond with a delay. That mushiness can be a keypad overlay. Overlays appear alongside a meaningful share of ATM skimming jobs, often paired with a card skimmer for a complete capture. A keypad overlay is a false pad laid over the real one that records each key you press before passing it through to the genuine buttons beneath, so the machine still works. Mild, the overlay is spotted and pulled during routine service. Moderate, your PIN is logged with your card and used at cash machines. Severe, repeated withdrawals clear the account before the daily limit resets against them. People blame worn buttons or a cheap machine. The wrong feel is the entire warning. Because it captures the PIN directly, no camera is even needed, which makes the setup cheaper and more common. It stays invisible because a slightly stiff keypad is easy to explain away as ordinary wear. The fix is to trust the strange feel and walk to another machine. The irony is that your fingertips notice the fraud before your eyes ever could. If you carry a phone, open its Bluetooth list while standing at a suspect pump or terminal and look for a device named as a string of random letters and numbers. That signal can belong to a Bluetooth skimmer. Wireless models now make up a growing share of the skimmers investigators recover because they solve the thief's hardest problem. A Bluetooth skimmer works like any other, but instead of storing data for later pickup, it broadcasts what it captures over short-range wireless, so no one has to return to a watched machine. Mild, the odd device name tips off a careful customer who reports it. Moderate, a quiet leak of cards flows out for weeks. Severe, an entire station of customers is hit before the pattern is traced. People assume a skimmer must be retrieved to be dangerous. This one never needs to be touched again. Because the data leaves in real time, the operation scales without exposure, which is why these are spreading. It stays invisible because the hardware is sealed inside and the theft happens through the air. The fix is a habit. Scan for odd Bluetooth signals at pumps and avoid any pump that carries one. The irony is that the tool in your pocket can often see the device your eyes cannot. Notice the next time your card is carried away from you, at a restaurant, a bar, or a counter, out of your line of sight. That moment is when a handheld skimmer does its work. Skimming by staff accounts for a real share of card fraud in any setting where your card leaves your hand. A handheld skimmer is a small battery reader that copies your stripe in the second it takes to swipe it, done in the walk between your table and the register. Your legitimate charge still posts, so the receipt looks perfect. Mild, one odd charge is caught and reversed. Moderate, your number surfaces weeks later with no obvious source, since the meal was normal. Severe, it is sold in a batch, cloned, and spent far away. People blame a website they used or a machine they touched. The exposure was a dinner they never thought about again. Because the theft is separated from the fraud by weeks, the original swipe is almost never suspected, which protects the method. It stays invisible because handing over your card feels routine and polite. The fix is to pay where you can watch the card, tap when offered, or use a card with tight alerts. The irony is that the most social, trusting settings are the ones that ask you to look away. Check whether your contactless card or phone sits loose in an open pocket, or the outer sleeve of a bag in a dense crowd. That exposure is what contactless skimming targets, at least in theory. This one is documented but far rarer than the fear around it suggests, and understanding why matters as much as the threat. Contactless skimming uses a reader held close to your card to power and read its chip without touch. In practice, the range is only a few centimeters, the data captured is limited, and modern contactless payments use one-time codes that a copy cannot reuse. Mild and nothing usable is captured at all, which is the common outcome. Moderate, a limited detail is skimmed that fails at checkout. Severe cases are unusual and tend to involve older, weaker cards. People blame contactless as reckless when it is often safer than a swipe. The real cascade here is misplaced worry that pushes people back toward the magnetic stripe, which is the weakest link of all. It stays misunderstood because theft through the air sounds worse than a slot you can see. The fix, if it reassures you, is a shielded sleeve. But the deeper fix is knowing the stripe is the greater risk. The irony is that the method people fear most is the one they should probably fear least. Before you use a freestanding cash machine in a bar, a lobby, or a corner shop, ask yourself who owns it and whether it looks bolted, branded, and maintained. A machine that fails those questions can be a rogue ATM. Standalone fake machines are rarer than skimmers, but among the most costly per victim, because the entire device is the trap. A rogue ATM is a working, or partly working machine placed to capture every card and PIN that passes through it, sometimes dispensing cash to seem legitimate, sometimes dispensing nothing at all. Mild, you lose only a small withdrawal fee to a shady operator. Moderate, your card and PIN are captured in full from a single use. Severe, the machine keeps your card and empties the account before you reach your bank. People blame themselves for using an odd machine, but the machine was built to look ordinary. Because it controls the whole transaction, it captures more and more reliably than any add-on device. It stays invisible because we assume any machine that dispenses cash must be sanctioned by someone. The fix is to prefer machines attached to real banks and to treat a lonely, off-brand box with suspicion. The irony is that the more independent and convenient the machine, the less anyone is accountable for it. If a machine ever swallows your card and refuses to return it, do not walk away for help before you look at the slot. A trapped card can be the work of a card trapping device. Card trapping is a long documented tactic still reported at older machines, especially those left unattended. The device is a thin loop or sleeve fitted inside the slot that lets your card go in, but grips it so it cannot come back out. You believe the machine has eaten your card. The person waiting nearby removes the device and your card with it once you leave. Mild, you cancel the card quickly and lose only time. Moderate, someone has your physical card and, if they watched, your PIN. Severe, cash is withdrawn before you have reached a phone. People blame a broken machine and leave, which is exactly the response the trap is designed to produce. Because the card is gone rather than copied, the loss can begin within minutes, faster than most skimming. It stays invisible because a jammed machine is a familiar, harmless event. The fix is to stay at the machine, call your bank from where you stand, and never accept help from a stranger who appears at that moment. The irony is that walking away for help is the one move that completes the theft. At the next parking meter, transit machine, or self-service kiosk, give the reader the same wiggle and press you would give an ATM, even though it feels excessive. These unattended machines carry the same skimmers. Kiosks are increasingly targeted precisely because no one watches them and no one services them often. The device is the same overlay or insert used elsewhere, placed on a machine that may go days or weeks without a human looking closely. Mild, a small parking charge is the only clue something was wrong. Moderate, your card spreads to online fraud with no memorable point of exposure. Severe, a card you used once for a $2 fee funds a spree hundreds of miles away. People never suspect a parking meter, which is the entire point. Because the amount you paid was trivial, you file the machine away as forgettable, and the exposure hides in that forgetting. It stays invisible because vigilance drops in proportion to the stakes, and the stakes here feel like pocket change. The fix is to tap rather than insert at unattended machines, or to use a card with instant alerts for even the smallest charge. The irony is that the cheapest transaction can open the most expensive door. Look at the card terminal at a checkout and notice if it seems newer than everything around it, sits oddly, or is tethered by a cable that does not match. A terminal that seems out of place can be a tampered payment terminal. Compromised terminals turn up in retail inspections every year, swapped or altered on the sales floor without staff realizing. A tampered terminal is a reader that has been opened, modified, or replaced so that it captures your card as it processes the sale, hiding in plain sight as the very device you are meant to trust. Mild, the swap is caught in an audit before wide harm. Moderate, a store's customers see scattered fraud that takes weeks to connect. Severe, thousands of cards from one location are compromised before the terminal is found. Shoppers blame the store's honesty when the staff were victims too. Because the terminal is authorized to read cards, its theft blends perfectly into normal business. It stays invisible because you were trained your whole life to trust the machine at the register. The fix is to favor tap payments and mobile wallets, which hand over a token instead of your true number. The irony is that the device meant to protect the sale can be turned into the thing that robs it. The next time you check out on a website, notice whether the payment page looks slightly off, loads an extra pop-up, or asks for more than it did last time. That change can signal digital skimming. E-skimming affects thousands of online stores at any given moment, with the largest campaigns lifting hundreds of thousands of cards at once. Digital skimming, often called formjacking, works by hiding malicious code inside a checkout page, frequently through a weakness in the site's own suppliers, so that as you type your card number, it is copied and sent elsewhere while your order still completes. Mild, your bank blocks the first test charge. Moderate, your number is resold and used across several sites before you notice. Severe, it surfaces months later on a card you assumed was safe, with no store you can point to. People blame their own device or a virus when the flaw lived on a trusted website. Because the order goes through normally, nothing signals that anything was taken, which is what lets these campaigns run for months. It stays invisible because there is no physical object to inspect at all. The fix is to pay through a wallet or a single-use virtual card number. Keep alerts on every account, and if you spot a charge you cannot explain, call your bank's fraud department the same day and report it, because this is awareness, not financial or legal advice, and a real theft against you deserves real help from your bank and, where it belongs, the authorities. The irony is that the most advanced skimmer of all leaves nothing to wiggle, nothing to press, and nothing to see, which is exactly why knowing it exists is the only defense you have.